Greetings and welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. To our members, friends, and everyone joining us in our virtual congregation on YouTube today.
Which way to the manger of the Christ child? Which way to the cradle of the King? Which way to the babe and the mother? Glory, glory, hear the angels sing. Which way to the manger of the Christ child? Which way to the cradle of the King? Which way to the babe and the mother? Glory, glory, hear the angels sing. Oh, the way is shone by a star so bright, for the Lord is born in Bethlehem tonight. Oh, the way is shone by a star so bright, for the Lord is born in Bethlehem tonight. Tell me which way to the manger of the Christ child, which way to the cradle of the King, which way to the babe and the mother. Glory, glory, hear the angels sing. Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis Deo. Which way to the manger of the Christ child? Which way to the cradle of the King? Which way to the babe and the mother? Glory, glory, hear the angels sing. Way is shone by a star so bright, for the Lord is born in Bethlehem tonight. Which way to the manger of the Christ child? Which way to the cradle of the King? Which way to the baby Jesus? Which way to the Lord Almighty? Which way? Which way? Which way?
Hello, I'm the Reverend Robin Landerman Zucker, minister of this congregation, and I will be hosting our virtual recorded service for Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2020, with worship associates, our choir members, and our musicians, Rumi Wood and Rebecca Prisnick. We'll share familiar carols, listen to glorious music and inspiring readings to warm and brighten this complicated Christmas. We're glad you're here and that you've made Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation part of this day or evening in your spiritual life, whether you are a regular viewer or you are joining us for the first time. We're here every week on YouTube, and we'll be home at 510 North LaRue Street in Flagstaff when it is safe enough to gather again in person. Our congregation is spiritually open and intentionally inclusive. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are always welcome here. Our members and friends bring many interests, theologies, and viewpoints to our door, and here we trust you will find a common desire for meaningful community and spiritual growth and for relevant religious exploration in a framework with very flexible borders. Membership in this congregation is open to anyone who chooses to walk with us in the spirit of love, the search for truth, and the pursuit of justice. As I light the chalice, the symbol of our free faith, please light your own chalice or candle at home as we recite the unison words you will see on your screen. We light this chalice with a flame that draws us together. With this flame, we cut through the darkness of isolation and are warmed by the fires of our inner connection. The mission and covenant of Beacon express our values and our vision of ourselves as a gathered community in the world. Please say the mission and covenant with me. You will see the words on your screen. The mission of Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation is to be a welcoming community that embraces diverse thought and belief and builds a just, peaceful, and compassionate world. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in kindness, thus do we covenant. If you're watching as part of our watch party on December 24th at 5:30, we will be pausing later in the service to have some live sharing, to light candles, and to sing Silent Night. But now, let us behold the story which we tell again every year, and let us hear even beyond the words, stories, and music, those deeper human truths of love and blessing born again among us and through us. So I offer you this reading from the Gospel of Luke. In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be enrolled. This was the first enrollment, while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all went to be enrolled, each in his own city. And Joseph also went up to Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be enrolled with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to be delivered, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them at the inn. And in that region, there were shepherds out in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and they were filled with fear. And the angel said to them, "Be not afraid. This will be a sign for you. You will find a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill among all souls." When the angel went away from them into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has made known to us." And they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying which had been told concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. But Mary kept all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as they had been told.
Please join me in singing Joy to the World. Sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, now gladness reigns. Let hearts their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. Sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. Let righteousness its glory show, as far as love is found, as far as love is found, as far as love is found.
Our opening words are Counting Our Blessings by LAMOTT. Why we say grace. We didn't say grace at our house when I was growing up because my parents were atheists. I knew, even as a little girl, that everyone at every table needed blessing and encouragement. But my family didn't ask for it. Instead, my parents raised glasses of wine to the chef. Cheers dig in. But I had a terrible secret, which was that I believed in God, a divine presence who heard me when I prayed, who stayed close to me in the dark. So at 6 years old, I began to infiltrate religious families like a spy, Matahari in plaid sneakers. One of my best friends was a Catholic girl. Her boisterous family bowed its collective head and said, "Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts." I was so hungry for these words. It was like a cool breeze, a polite thank you note to God, the silky, magnetic energy of gratitude. I still love that line. In my spiritual sleuthing, I noticed some families shortened the pro forma blessing to a monastic chant, said as one word, "God is great, God is good, let us thank him for our food, amen." And we've all been held hostage by grace sayers who use the opportunity to work the room like the church lady, Lordy. It turns out that my two brothers and I grew up to be middle-aged believers. I've been a member of the same Presbyterian church for 27 years. My brother became a born-again Christian, but don't ask him to give the blessing, as it can last forever. I adore him, but your food will grow cold. My younger brother is an unconfirmed but freelance Catholic. So now someone at our holiday table always ends up saying grace. I think we're in it for the pause, the quiet thanks for love and second chances and for blessings before the shoveling begins. For a minute, our stations are tuned to a broader, richer radius. We're acknowledging that this food didn't just magically appear. Someone grew it, ground it, bought it, baked it. Wow. We say thank you for the miracle that we have stuck together all these years, in spite of it all. That we have each other's backs and hilarious companionship. We pray to be mindful of the needs of others. We savor these moments out of time when we are conscious of love's presence, of someone's great abiding generosity to our dear and motley family, these holy moments of gratitude. And that is grace.
The Nicest Gifts I Ever Got by Clark Dewey Wells. During this season of giving, a good exercise is to make a list of the best gifts we ever got. That'll tell us what's important for ourselves and for the people we want to give gifts to. While I remember the Daniel Boone hat and the magician hat with special affection, the nicest gifts I ever got are in quite another category. The carillonneur at Rockefeller Chapel, who told me to strike one of the largest tune bells in the world during his playing of Ein Feste Burg. My mother giving me a complete Shakespeare set for my 14th birthday. Coach Al Terry saying, "Little Wells, grab your bonnet," and permitting me to enter as a freshman into my very first varsity football game. A beautiful lady on a ship when I was still an acne teenager who kissed my face all over and told me that she thought I was handsome. Dr. Harry Wilson Wyman telling me thought that for several hours about a question I had raised and responding with a written answer the next day in front of the whole class. Night after night, my father playing catch with me in the backyard until it was so dark I couldn't see. A Unitarian minister in Kalamazoo who put his arm around me after my father died, and he kept it there for a long time. A friend who flew several hundred miles to visit me when I was sick, and a buddy who went to see 3 movies with me on the same day. The nicest gifts that people have given me have been enabling, confirming gifts, bestowing understanding and self-esteem, help in time of trouble, and delight for ordinary days. May I suggest that you too draw up a list of the nicest gifts that you've ever received. I think that it'll give some perspective to the kinds of gifts we really want to give to each other this Christmas or any time.
Please join me in singing Jingle Bells. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. We got into a drifted bank, and then we got upset. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
The Reverend Davidson LOEHR shares the very personal and profound experience of unexpectedly finding himself cast as a stranger seeking shelter one Christmas season. He had decided to drive 500 miles from Austin, Texas to Clarinda, Iowa, to visit his aging and ailing grandfather, whom he hadn't seen for 9 years. He called Grandpa, who said it would be just fine to visit after Christmas. So Davidson set out on his own Christmas pilgrimage. A few miles outside Clarinda, his aging Datsun failed, and a lady at the nearest farmhouse wouldn't let him use the phone. Finally, her husband came down, a big burly fellow, and said he could come in and make the call, but don't go walking into other rooms. Davidson got himself towed to a local garage where the mechanic quipped, "Nice car, did you make it?" By the time he got to his grandfather's, it was late, cold, dark and windy with blowing snow. He knocked, and a few moments later, when this dear old man opened the door, Davidson became aware of two things simultaneously. He writes, "The first was that he had no idea who I was. He was quite senile. He didn't know me, although my last name rang a bell. I came to see my grandfather, and he opened the door to find a complete stranger coming from far away on a cold, dark, snowy night." The second thing I noticed just as quickly was that even while he had no idea who this strange young man on his porch was, he was opening his door as wide as he could and welcoming me inside. Davidson stayed for 2 days. During the lucid moments, they shared memories. But Davidson had to introduce himself to Grandpa several times a day. He recalls, every time I would come out of one of his rooms and he would come out of another, he would be mildly shocked to find a stranger in his home and would say again, "Well, hello and welcome, and who may you be?" Davidson can't help but liken himself to Mary and Joseph when he recalls this memorable, odd visit. Every time there is room at an inn, he tells us, every time we overcome fear with love, the stage is set for another kind of manger scene where something holy can be born. It happened to me, so I can testify to it.
I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams. I'll be home you can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams.
My homily for this Christmas Eve is entitled, Blessings Come. One of the most meditative and scenic pleasures of visiting Cape Cod in Massachusetts is the perk of morning walks on endless stretches of local beaches at sunrise. My colleague, the Reverend Bill Clark, who lives in Provincetown at the tip of the Cape, is often heard rhapsodizing about the gift at his sandy feet, and he has shared one particular memory of one such dawn stroll at Race Point Beach. As Bill was walking down the beach, he encountered a woman standing at the ocean edge shouting, "Blessings come, blessings come, blessings come." In Bill's ministerial mind, it appeared that she was beseeching the universe or God to salve some pain or answer some prayer. He felt that pastoral urge and approached her. He said he was a minister, had overheard her plea, "Blessings come," and would lend a listening ear and an open heart if she wished. The woman looked confused at first and then burst out laughing hysterically. Bill was puzzled, but quite intrigued. "Blessings is the name of my golden retriever puppy," she explained. "He's run off. I was calling him back. Blessings doesn't always come when I call, but thanks so much anyway. I appreciate your concern and your kindness." And then she went back to the task at hand. "Blessings come, blessings come, blessings come." Bill continued down the beach with a smile and, in his words, with an eye out for blessings. This is a homily about keeping an eye out for blessings, and even more so about calling out for them time and again, even when they don't always come when we call, like this Cape Cod puppy still learning voice commands. At least they don't come right away, and at least not necessarily in 2020. Tonight, we celebrate and lift up a very particular perennial blessing that defies the calendar, the pandemic, the weariness we feel, the symbolism of a babe born in a manger under a luminous star in a silent and holy night. As the Reverend Meg Barnhouse tells us, a new baby has all the possibilities in the world. It carries all the hopes and dreams. Later on, as it grows and matures, it becomes more real. And if you are skilled and lucky, it grows richer and deeper. As life starts, you care for it and nurture it. You are careful with it. You delight in it. A baby full of possibilities. And then she concludes, no wonder Christmas is such a well-loved holiday. We get to coo over the baby God and feel the aching openness of a heart at the very beginning. Yet babes grow into adults, into a world that is not always kind or easy or just. Hearts can close, evil can prevail, pandemics can descend. Throughout our hurting and hopeful world, and within our own hurting and hopeful and utterly human selves, there is pain and sorrow indeed. There are times when we would give anything for blessings to come when we call. Even so, whenever possible, Remember that baby full of possibilities, born only knowing joyful welcome in a manger thousands of years ago, and allow blessings to come anyway. Ask yourself what blessings are calling to you. A repaired relationship, restored health, taming addictions or anger, a revived career or a fruitful retirement, a new original blessing of some sort. And by all means, give yourself permission to rejoice with others, to find joy in another's joy. It's the secret to true happiness and peace. Or as Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who lived among some of the most profound human suffering imaginable, has remarked, "She gives most who gives with joy." Not long before his death, quite unexpectedly at the age of 52, the famed Irish poet John O'Donohue was interviewed for the NPR program Speaking of Faith. And during that broadcast, O'Donohue, the author of the much-loved spiritual classic, Anam Cara, makes the case for recovering what he calls the lost art of blessing. He reminds us that it would be infinitely lonely to live in a world without blessing. The word blessing evokes a sense of warmth and protection. It suggests that no life is alone or unreachable. The commercial edge of so-called progress has cut away a huge region of human tissue and webbing that held us in communion with one another. Our times are desperate for meaning and belonging, and a blessing can be like a discovery of a fresh well. If only we could discover or rediscover our power to bless one another, because I believe each of us can bless. For when blessing is invoked, it changes the atmosphere. Some of the plenitude flows into our hearts from the invisible neighborhood of loving kindness. In the light of blessing, a person or situation becomes illuminated in a completely different way. In a dead wall, a new window opens. In a dense darkness, a path starts to glimmer. And into a broken heart, healing falls like morning dew. Let us begin to learn to bless one another, O'Donohue beseeches us. Whenever you give a blessing returns to enfold you. I'm thinking now of the moment in the Gospels near the end of Jesus's life, when he's about to leave his disciples at the end of his ministry, and he offers this blessing. These things have I spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that joy may be full. The Reverend Jane Jepka considers Jesus' legacy and writes, I figure it this way. Jesus is honored as a wise teacher, not because he was born, but because he grew up and changed the world. The same goes for Buddha and Confucius and any number of religious figures. And the same goes for any of us. Part of what we love and celebrate in the babies in our life is the promise they hold as they grow from babyhood into old age. We are all one-time holy babes, now balding and spreading, now flossing and watching our weight, but nonetheless divinely blessed. Some of us, we grow into lap dogs, and others into agility champs, but we're all blessed every which way. Each person hearing this homily tonight was born at a sacred time. And no matter what the circumstances, whether you were greeted with joy or despair, whether you were healthy or weak, whether you were an easy baby or utterly exhausting, like an overly rambunctious puppy, we too were filled with promise. We who were once newborn, now grown, are filled with promise still. And that's holy, holy stuff. So let every heart prepare him room. May we say grace in our own unique vernaculars, like Annie Lamott, at holiday tables and altars, quiet thanks for love and life's gifts before the shoveling begins, with our stations tuned to a broader, richer radius. May we recheck our lists of the nicest gifts we have or might receive, like the Reverend Clark Wells, and may we overcome fear with love, like Davidson LOEHR, and welcome a stranger, or be welcomed as one. And may blessings be born not just when we're feeling good, but rather when we are most in need of saving grace. May blessings come when we beckon them to us at the ocean's edge, and may blessings flourish and multiply as we send them forth on a wintry wind of hope on this and every silent and holy night. May we be blessed with one another's company soon. Tonight, as we gather in spirit, I say, blessed be, blessed we, blessings come, blessed night. We will pause now for our watch party to have some live sharing, to light candles, and then we'll be back to sing Silent Night. In the season of sacred hymns and rousing carols, how can we keep from singing? Spirit of life, remind us to sing. In this season of celebrations and joy, when there is still plenty of loneliness and despair behind the tinsel, how can we keep from caring? Spirit of life, remind us to care. In this season of miracles, when a bright red ribbon of mystery is wrapped around this gift we call life, how can we keep from wondering? Spirit of life, remind us to wonder. In this season of anticipation and magic, when children's faces beam like northern lights, how can we keep from laughing? Spirit of life, remind us to laugh. In this season of hope, when people throughout the world are praying for peace, goodwill, and health, how can we keep from praying? Spirit of life, remind us to pray. And in this season of darkness and candlelight, when the flame is passed lovingly among us in fellowship, how can we keep from shining? Spirit of life, please keep our candles lit throughout the year and remind us to shine.
Please join me in singing Silent Night. Silent night, holy night, all is Silent night, holy night, child of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Our tradition on Christmas Eve is to take a donation for the minister's discretionary fund. But this year, we're asking for a holiday gift to help support our operating budget and make up some of the revenue we would have received from rentals and other activities that we haven't been able to have because of the pandemic. There are two ways you can donate. You may have received a letter from us with a return envelope, but if not, you can go to our website, beaconuu.com, click the donate button, and make a secure online donation through the Vanco application. If you use this method, we ask that you use a bank account, not a credit card, to save us some fees. Or you can send us a check to 510 North LaRue Street, Flagstaff, Arizona, 86001, and put holiday gift in the note for either the online donation or the check. Either way, we greatly appreciate your support, especially during this challenging year. And finally, may we come together as a community virtually, holding hands, feeling the power and warmth of this community and all that it represents. And remember that whether we are together or apart, we are blessed by being in this community, and we are Beacon, always connected, no matter what. I offer in benediction this lovely, simple poem of the season, just called Christmastime. Fall snow, dream night, shine tree, fire be bright. Carolers sing, bells chime, heart remember, Christmastime. Peace prevail, world rest. You friends, be blessed.
Friends, be blessed.
Friends, be blessed.
Friends, be blessed.
They told me, pa-dum-pum-pum-pum, a newborn king to see, pa-dum-pum-pum-pum. Our finest gifts we bring, pa-dum-pum-pum-pum, drum-pum-pum-pum, drum-pum-pum-pum. Can it be
A newborn king to see,
perhaps we'll see.
Our finest gifts we bring, to lay before the King,
Man of goodwill, live in peace again.
so
Peace
to
on
honor him, pa-dum-pum-pum, when we call. played my drum for him, I played my best for him,
when men of goodwill live in peace again.
Then
Peace
he
on
smiled at me